Hey there everyone, welcome back, and happy holidays if you celebrate. Most of us know the Christmas classic film, It's a Wonderful Life. It is required Christmas Eve viewing here. But not as many are familiar with The Greatest Gift, which is the story upon which the film is based. Here I'm going to go through the basic differences between the two with my thoughts at the end of all things. Normally I start with the base material first, but in this case the film is the far more well-known of the two. So in that case we're going to jump right into It's a Wonderful Life, 1946, directed by Frank Capra, starring Jimmy Stewart and Donna Reed, and remade ad nauseum through the last 80-some years. I think most everyone knows the plot of this one by now, but just to be thorough, I will recap it quickly. George Bailey is on a bridge at the edge of his small hometown, feeling hopeless and considering ending it all. Little does he know, his case has sparked the interest of some higher-ups in the angel realm, who take a review of some of the highlights of his life, which amount to quite a dang few highlights. It takes up a great deal of the film. We see George rescue his kid brother from drowning, work for his father and put off college while his brother finishes high school, fall in love and get married, rescue his deceased father's business but have to keep working there in order to keep it from falling into the hands of the town mogul, build up the company by helping his neighbors and giving them a better chance in life, raise 4 children, and see his brother likewise become a hero and many others leave the town and rise in life while he remains stuck due to fate. When a financial catastrophe occurs, he can see no way out except to, well, end it all as said, but heaven decides he is worth trying to save, and intervenes in the form of Clarence, a wannabe guardian angel. Clarence intercedes, stopping George, but cannot convince him that it wouldn't be worth trying again. George is certain the world would be better off without him, and that in fact it might be best if he were never born in the first place. Latching onto this as a way to get his point across, Clarence causes this very thing to happen. Then, partially accompanied by Clarence, guardian angel after all, George goes through the town encountering different people from the flashbacks of his life, who we can see have all changed for the worse, including his brother, who, because George was not there having never been born, his brother passed away due to a drowning accident as a young child. His mother runs a boarding house, his wife has never married, a librarian, gasp! His friends are barely making it through, having been forced into slums by the mogul who now runs the entire town, as there has been nobody to stand in his way. George at last understands what a difference he has made just by existing and being himself, a good man with a firm moral compass. He begs to live again, and his wish is granted. At the end, the financial catastrophe which sparked all this is averted by the intervention of all the many friends he has made throughout his truly wonderful life. Now, one thing that struck me in recent years about the movie is that Clarence shows George what a difference he has made, even though he never got to leave town. He never got to go away and do anything big and important like he always wanted to. But although that was something that clearly bothered George throughout the film, and really you could see this as just one big midlife crisis, it didn't seem like all, at least, of the actual main issue George was having. Like, he was shown that he had actually helped people, and that was undeniably part of it. But the fact that he didn't get to get out and do what he wanted for himself wasn't the main central thing. He wasn't aware that he had made as big a difference as he had. But what really set him off was the money thing. It was the fact that he wasn't able to get out and help people more. So, like, if he'd been able to get the money in the first place, it's entirely possible that he never would have had the crisis at all. So, although he does make the "I wish I'd never been born" statement that gives Clarence that direction, It's possible he doesn't actually believe that totally. It's just a thought that strikes me whenever I watch the film lately, as I watch it through the ever-present and ever-increasing fuzzy mist of tears that just, like I say, increases throughout the years, and yes, I'm getting old. Now, to the story. The Greatest Gift, written in 1943 by Philip Van Doren Stern. There are 36 pages in this edition, which I got through the library, including woodcut illustrations by Andrew Davidson. Those are special for this version, quote, inspired by the original version. Plus, there's an afterword by Van Doren Stern's daughter, Marguerite Stern Robinson. This is widely spaced and an easy read. I mean, like a really easy read. I was originally going to do this video last week, but I had to wait for the book because it was an interlibrary loan. Once I finally got it, I picked it up and read it within 20 minutes. As you might expect from that, this is a rather bare-bones story compared to the film version. It is Christmas Eve in a small town. George Pratt is looking out over the water and thinking the worst when an unnamed little fellow with twinkling eyes approaches him and engages him in conversation. George is not overwhelmed with despair, necessarily. There has been no big event that led up to this. It's more the grind of life and averageness that's been wearing him down. A real midlife crisis, one might say. It's the smallness of it all, the feeling that he's not making a difference. Here George does a lot of complaining about his boring job at a bank, which may make him seem a little less sympathetic, because he's kind of a whiner, but at the same time, who among us hasn't felt this way at least some point? I know I'd love to do more myself, to get out there and do things to help people, but I do try to remember that I'm also raising 3 kids. It takes up a great deal of time, but that also makes a difference to them. And that is a pretty big deal right there. Even so, I feel like I'm making excuses. Without much further ado, George is gifted the deal of a lifetime by the mysterious stranger. From here on in, it will be that he has never been born. The stranger invites him to go back into town and greet those from his life, but he gives him a satchel full of cleaning brushes. In the days when door-to-door salesmen were common, this makes an easy opening with strangers, not only to talk to them, but to get invited into their homes. Even on Christmas Eve, people didn't necessarily see this as a strange thing. George is naturally skeptical of the idea that, oh, suddenly you've never been born. Yeah, okay, sure. But he begins to question his skepticism almost immediately when he comes upon a neighbor's tree, which, as a rapscallion young youth person, he had scarred through his rapscallion-y antics, and he finds the tree here to be whole and healthy. Heading into the town proper, he passes the bank and finds it vacant and up for sale. He talks with the owner of the realty company and finds out that his former friend Marty, with whom he had vied for the job, here Marty got the job with no competition, and then stole a ton of money and drove the bank out of business. With these 2 strange occurrences under his belt, George then accepts the situation fairly quickly, and then he heads for his parents' home. Here both parents are alive and well, and they have a doggo who doesn't recognize George either. George uses the brushes to gain an audience and finds, on speaking with his mother, that his brother, who he had saved from a drowning accident at age 16, here has passed from that same occurrence. Now, Marty from the bank had a brother named Arthur, and Arthur was a rival with George for Mary's affections. Mary wound up marrying George, but here she married Arthur instead. Now George makes to sell the brushes to Mary, and finds a few things the same, but a few things different, including 2 children who exhibit characteristics of another man. The man himself shows up. He has become an unpleasant drunkard and forces an embarrassed Mary to put an end to the interview. George gifts her a particularly individual-looking brush upon leaving, and then heads back for the bridge, where the stranger is still waiting for him. George fervently explains that he has learned his lesson, and the stranger tells him to just close his eyes and listen to the church bells tolling in the distance. This breaks the spell, and George happily heads back to his town, looking at everything, including his work, with new eyes, vowing to fix his neighbor's tree, then heads home to hug Mary and hold his own children close. And there's a coda. In a twist, George finds a most familiar brush sitting on their couch. That's it. There is no more to the story. Now, Van Doren Stern did work in various capacities of the publishing world, including editing, but through his agent, he attempted to get the story published initially, and there were no bites. Thinking outside the box, he typed it up in pamphlet format and sent 200 copies out as 1943 Christmas cards. The next spring, his agent called to floor him with the news that the pamphlet had made its way to Hollywood, who wished to make an offer for the rights. Both Frank Capra and Jimmy Stewart repeatedly praised the story publicly, and Stewart sent a letter directly to Van Doren Stern, telling him how it was an inspiration to everyone who had worked on the film, and that as author he should be justly proud of it. That inspiration spread even to simultaneously expected and unexpected places. In her afterword, Van Doren Stern's daughter Marguerite cites the story as an inspiration for her career in worldwide microbanking, in which she assisted low-income folks with getting loans. While it is bare bones, this story manages to hit an essential point that resonates with a lot of people. Your life matters. Ending thoughts. I mean, both stories are good. And as said, the original story hits the essential point about everyone's life mattering in one way or another. If that's all you need, and sometimes you do need it, as a quick hit that'll do the trick, so to speak. However, the classic movie is a classic for a reason. Not only is it very well made in many aspects, but it hits the original point, and then it goes deeper. Mainly by delving into the very real problem of the haves versus the have-nots. The original story was clearly inspired by A Christmas Carol, and the movie takes that further, with a crabbed elderly miser squaring off with, like, Bob Cratchit and Nephew Fred rolled into one. Only here the ghosts are an angel visiting the good man, with the miser never learning his lesson. It might be argued that since the miser is never going to learn his lesson, the good man would be a better bet, and that this is a more realistic point of view. Like A Christmas Carol, this film speaks to us through the generations, and the economic aspect is a good part of the reason why. The other thing is that no man is a failure who has friends. This is a lesson that both Scrooge and, on the flip side, George Bailey had to learn, and both thankfully did. Having people who care about you is one of the great joys of life. And if we are fortunate enough to have those people, we don't always take the time to appreciate what a wonderful thing that is. And that's the message from both Carol and Wonderful Life. Because it's a fact, often, that you get what you give. George Bailey gave, and most appreciated him for it. No, that is not always the case from every single person, but it does happen far more often than you might think. As for Scrooge, more people understood him and gave him leeway for his actions than he ever suspected, or arguably deserved, and many of them did remove themselves from his toxic presence as soon as possible. But when he does come to realize that caring for others is such a great thing, he sets about doing it as quickly as possible. So I find it interesting that Wonderful Life sees Mr. Potter, the Scrooge stand-in, as perhaps beyond all hope. Maybe some people are, I don't know. I just feel like the attempt might be worth it. I don't know. If nothing else, I have come myself to realize that it's not about the reciprocation, although that's a plus, and most people will appreciate when you make an effort on their behalf. But just trying to be good and kind and thoughtful, it says something about you. Like, you can't control other people, but you can control what you do. more than anyone else, I have to live with myself. And I want to be someone where I can be content, at peace, proud of who I am as a person. I'm not perfect, and I definitely have my off days, but I keep trying. And I feel like that is just a big point here. Okay, anyway, that was Wonderful Life and its inspiration, The Greatest Gift, with a little bit of Christmas Carol thrown in. I've said it before, I'll say it again. Happy holidays to you if you celebrate, and if not, I really hope you have a wonderful week and as much of a wonderful life as is possible. Who knows? Take a look at it. It might be better than you think. In any case, I will see you next week. Hang in there, champ. Take care of yourselves and each other. Bye for now.